function here. Yep.
Okay.
It started. Right, I might go and get a drink and
Cool. Hope it goes
notepad
well.
as well.
And yeah, you
Yeah.
can either close the meeting or whatever. I'm going to be done at about 9:30, so I reckon you'll be finished by then.
Yeah. This won't time out after an hour, will it?
No, no, this is an account, paid for account,
Yeah.
so it's all just crack
Lovely.
on, unlimited
Thank you for
users,
that.
all that malarkey. Well, I thought I might as well use it. It's business. It's my company account, but just no dramas. All
Thank
right,
you
mate.
very much.
I'll catch you
Yep.
later.
See you
See ya.
later. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye. Ziggy, do you want to come up? Hi, Harry.
Good evening. How are you all?
You all right? Yeah.
Yeah, all good, thanks.
You good?
Yeah, all
Good
good.
stuff. Thanks for doing this. You all ready for
No
it?
worries at all. Yeah. Shall I share my screen now, or should we wait for other people to join?
I think we're going to have, we're a tad early. We're going to have a few people joining as we go. So there will be some of the subs as well tonight, which is great.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
Hi
hi,
guys.
Charles. All right. Oh,
God, I used to do this all the time. I don't think I've done this for about a year. This used to be my life.
this was
Felt like I
COVID,
put a tie on or something.
wasn't it? Hi, Mike. How's the 80-minute erg then, Charles? Dish
Wow.
served.
Yeah, I've always felt quite guilty watching Netflix because when you go to the club and watch them doing ergos, they're not watching. They have a that little attachment you get that sits on top of the computer thingy that you can clip your phone. I always felt a bit guilty about doing that because nobody else seems to do it. But yeah, it's great. I quite look forward to it because it's an hour on my own watching telly. So don't really get to do that very often.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay, Matt?
Yep.
I think I've got the video blanked out, which might be best for all concerned. But
You sound like you're in your cellar, but all good.
I wish I had a cellar, actually, a beer cellar. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Not quite a cellar.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, David.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Gwen.
Hi.
Ask David if he can send me some numbers.
Are you still at work, David?
No.
That was Mel.
I've been into London today, so I've got a proper
Hi,
shirt on.
David. Sorry, that was Mel in the background. I'm on her iPad.
Okay. Oh, that looks very old. I meant the clock, Mike Jones, not you.
Oh, thank you.
So well done, everyone, on being early. We're now going to probably give a few minutes for the rest to download Zoom, or hopefully no one's sitting in the old Teams link. I think I managed to delete that. Oh, here we go. Got a whole crowd coming now. Brian, Alan. Craig, David Duckworth, Miles.
Evening, guys.
Evening.
Hi there. How was the meeting last night, by the way, Matt? They look as if they could go on forever.
Yeah, it was an hour and 40. So at least 40 or 50 minutes of it was on safety and risks and hazards around the club, and do we make more procedures? And and I was
Even more
of the
procedures.
opinion of, rather than sending the captain, the chairman, and the safety officer an email of a risk you've seen, how about ask within your squad, can we fix this thing that we're all so worried about? Can we do it ourselves?
That'd be a good start, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So the guy that brought up the safety was worried about the picture of Steve Redgrave that's hung above the bar with the broken glass in it. Is that going to fall on his... I had to explain that, no, that glass is behind another sheet of glass. Don't worry. That was fire damage, wasn't it?
Does that mean there's a bit of a safety risk because his lookout's not so good?
I was wondering if I was in a rowing club at one moment or not.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, the meeting's already recording, so this is really kind of Francis to set up his work Zoom like this. So thanks to him for that.
Yeah, nice one, Francis.
Got a few other stragglers coming. Here's Andrew Hater joining.
Any sign of Harry?
Yeah, Harry's been
Yeah,
on a couple
I'm
times.
here.
Hi, Harry.
Evening.
I'm going to say it was going to be a bit of a short meeting if you weren't coming.
Yeah.
He's just been keeping his head down.
Just waiting. Enjoying all the comedy that's going on, all the dad jokes.
Yeah, I think everyone's been logging in basically in order of their power score on the graphs.
great to see so many subs join us tonight. Thanks for that, and thanks for quite often getting us, 2 8s out on the water. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Really handy to get 2 8s out. Actually, when we go through these stats, we might see if the transfer window's up. I've already been offered a pan of chocolate and a cappuccino for.
Yeah, you know, the agents don't get paid quite the same as they do in football, do they?
No. Well, depends what the goods are.
Well, I suppose it depends which football
Have
club
we
it
got
is.
Lionel Messi in here?
Right, okay. I don't know if we're going to have many more. 22 is a good number, great number already. So I'll just sort of start by saying thanks to Mike for arranging a telemetry session. Thanks to our subs for getting us 2 sessions out. Went really well. And thanks for Harry for having a good look through the data. I think tonight will be really interesting. So I think over to the coaches, however you want to play it.
You happy to go
Cool.
through it?
Yeah, so I've made a quick presentation, so I'll share my screen. Hopefully that all works. Just let me know if you can see it. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it, Harry. It's good.
Perfect. So temperature analysis of when we used our telemetry. I think we've got 3 crews in total, but I'll quickly go over what this presentation covers. So I'll quickly explain what actually telemetry is. So before we see all the numbers and stuff, it's good to know the actual science behind it and why it's useful. So obviously we've got what we want to achieve. So ideal figures, so telemetry, what the numbers we get and the numbers we want to get are 2 different things. And we sort of set our benchmark and we want to achieve these ideal figures, which I've got down, and the correlation of data in comparison to the actual stroke. So visual sort of representation of what we're doing and how that correlates to the telemetry. So visual and telemetry is 2 different things. And I just sort of want to get telemetry isn't everything, but it's a key aspect of the rowing now. And obviously analysis of results and overall learnings and fixes that can be made. Cool. So what is telemetry and why do we use it? So the key purpose is obviously a performance measurement. So it gives power output, it gives your watts, it gives your effective length, so it gives your slips. That's sort of how connected you are throughout the stroke, at the catch and the finish. And it gives you real-time boat speed. So that's a thing people don't also understand is telemetry gives you a nice sort of real-time data graph of the actual boat speed, what the boat speed's doing at the catch, how well you keep your speed and how well you pick up the boat. I think that is also looked past quite a lot. So the technical aspect, technical analysis, it shows how well the power curves are matched up and also shows any timing issues and also how it compares to erg data as well. So we also use telemetry for training optimization. So equipment setup. If we're not quite getting our length around the catch, there's some fixes that we can make, which I'll share later. And it also gives us ideal positions for each individual. So let's say one of us has a really good connection around the front. I would say that's a really good sort of suit for a bow person, nice and quick on, sets the boat up well. What telemetry doesn't show is obviously how well someone sets a rhythm. So if you're looking at the data that I present to you later and going, well, everything's rubbish, um, always think there's a lot of visual things. Someone could add a great rhythm to the boat. That doesn't show on telemetry at all. So always keep that in mind. And it also provides us with long-term tracking. So hopefully this isn't the only session we have with telemetry, and we can compare the next session with telemetry as well, which will give Mike and I an idea of how well we're actually progressing as a squad, technically and sort of physically, because it gives us the power output as well. So what is the ideal sort of curve? I've got here a couple of my curves. Can I get a pointer here? So these up here are my curves. and that's my telemetry data set. This is the boat speed graph. That's a crucial thing for when you see your data. I want you to have a look at what yours looks like. And this is my sort of telemetry graph here. It's slightly different to yours because it's sculling. So mine's the blue line here, if you can see that. And the red line is the guy who just won senior and under 23 trials in a single. So he's pretty handy. And obviously here is the crucial data of our lengths, our slips, our catch, and stuff like that. And we obviously got watts here, but that's less interesting. And the key sort of thing I want you guys to take away from this is watts isn't everything. Watts is a byproduct of how well we're rowing. So I'll quickly go through what I do well. So if you can see here, I hold my peak power very well. It's got a nice round profile. It's almost like a tabletop. So it goes up nice and I hold my power nice and well and it comes down gradually. There's no sudden peaks and there's no double peaks as well. And obviously it goes up quite quickly and comes down there, which is our catch and finish slip. I'm quickly connected. Yep. Boat speed profile. So I want you to have a look at this. We're obviously all going to get distracted by our watts and output like that. But our boat speed profile is very interesting. I want to see, well, you to compare this one. So take a visual image of this one and then compare it to yours. You want the boat speed obviously to be a sharp decrease. You don't want to prolong that period of the boat speeds decreasing at the catch. But you also, this line here is how quickly you can pick up the boat. And obviously it goes straight down and straight up. So you want a V essentially. And that's a good boat speed pickup. I think recent sessions in sort of S&C, we've been trying to implement sort of the power curve on the erg. And there is a correlation between what we see on the erg and what we see on the water. So this is at RP3. This is a picture of a force curve. As you can see, it's got a big correlation to what it looks like in telemetry wise. So a nice pickup, nice rounded profile, and a nice gradual end here. And we've got all the different kinds of curves you can get down in this bottom left. This telemetry set here is George Bourne's. So that's from his single scull. That's what his looks like. If you don't know who George Bourne is, he just won the GB Men's 4, and I think he's got a silver medal in the quadruple sculls as well. This is sculling telemetry, so it's got a red and green for your two blades, but it's the same thing. So it's a very nice profile, but even then, a high profile athlete like him, it's not perfect. There's obviously a few inconsistencies, and there'll be definitely stuff he's working on as well. Cool. So talking of George Bourne, this is Kieran Clark's analysis of him. It's on British Rowing. I can send out the link later because it is a very good read and there's a lot more information than just on this slide. But I sort of summarized it into my own words of what I've been teaching you guys and sort of easy to take away terms. So at the catch, you can see George's got a very strong body position. I've been banging on about being at 1 o'clock, but you can see here, because he's got the all-in-one, the stripes down the side, that is bang on 1 o'clock. Chest up, no extra movement, and it's a very strong position. So catch slip, as we're about to find out later, is all about preparation into the catch. So he'll be set by quarter slide, and all you have to think about is just compressing his legs, square the blade, and place. He's getting the back of the spoon wet before the front of the spoon. Getting our back of the spoon wet means we're not cutting the drive off. We're maximizing our length. So that is in terms backsplash. Obviously, we don't want excessive backsplash, but we want a little bit of backsplash. So from here, he's pushing with his legs, his body stays forwards, and he's connecting with the legs. This sequence onto the middle part of the drive, which is the middle part of the curve. This is the peak, most powerful position to drive from. If you can see here, his blade is horizontal to the gate. That is when the spoon is pointing directly forward. That is when we want our peak power. So you want a smooth application of the legs, then the body adding to the leg drive. It's crucial that the body adds to the leg drive and not the other way around. You don't want the body and then the legs adding to the body. That makes no sense and it's not effective. And that's what I'll get to later on in this presentation. That's what a lot of us do. So the finish, so our body is now at 11 o'clock and the force and connection is maintained on the foot plates. So he's pressing out through the foot plate. The leg drive is never over and the feet always remain connected to the foot plate as much as possible. So then the arms are just used to guide the handles around the finish and around the body. So we're keeping it nice and simple, but the crucial thing is keeping our legs connected to the foot plate. So things to look out for before I show you your results are, so we will see sort of colors and graphs match up to our boat numbers. So if you're sitting at stroke, you'll be number 8 and vice versa, vice versa. The boat speed graph, as I showed earlier, and crucially, I want you to look at your lengths and slips. So the lengths we are aiming for are 80 to 85 degrees total length, which is this number here. So that's an accumulation of our catch angle and our finish angle. So our catch angle, I did this quick diagram earlier, is the red bit. This is our gate here, and the finish angle is the green bit here. So essentially, it's how far forward we get the handle round the catch and how far backwards we get the handle round the finish. And that's an accumulation of our length here. So we're aiming for 80 to 85 degrees total, and this is from our data set earlier. Don't know which boat it is, but you can see there's a few 70s, there's a few people on 82, 82, someone on 85, that's very good. But obviously we want to increase that as much as possible. The more length and crucially effective length, which I'll get onto in a sec, is what will drive our boat speed up. So here we have catch and finish slip. So you've probably heard this term before, but essentially this is the time it takes for us to get connected. So it's a 20% of our peak power, which registers it. So if we're below that 20% of our peak power, that accumulates to slip. So you get slip from connecting and from the finish when you come off the power. And this is minus, so these two angles here are minus from our total length, which will give us effective length. Effective length is the most crucial one as it shows us how effective we're being. And you can see some of us, so whoever's sitting at number 6 in the 6th seat was getting 85 degrees total length. However, the only 63 is actually effective, which is still rather high compared to some other people. So ideally, in an ideal world, we'll be wanting to work down our finish slip and catch slip to below 10 for each. And I think on a whole, our finish slip was a lot lower than our catch slip, which sort of shows to me we're all right around the finish. However, around the catch, there's a lot of work to do. In total, I want our effective degrees to be around 65. So we're not quite hitting those at the moment, but this is the whole point of telemetry. We're going to bump that number upwards, and hopefully through this, we'll be able to explain how to lower our catch slip and how to lower our finish slip, just so this number goes up. We'll also be looking at obviously what our boat speed is doing and how our force curves match up. And I can't stress enough, there's little emphasis on the watts as this is a byproduct of good rowing. I think in one of the boats it's really clear to see how the people who are most effective have the most effective length, get the most watts. They're not the biggest guys, but they get the most effective length and therefore the most watts. So we'll have a look at that. So this is crew 1. So this was Alan, Craig, Francis Miles, Andrew Hayter, Steve Williams, David Wells, and Richard. I'll quickly send these out on the WhatsApp just so you guys can zoom into it on your phones. Will be probably a bit easier. Give me 2 seconds. Hopefully you got that now. Essentially, this crew was really good at matching up their peaks. So that's what I liked about it. And overall, we have good finish slips here, in all around 10. In fact, half the crew are under 10, which is brilliant. That's probably what the seniors are doing. Effective lengths are all similar, although none of us are quite reaching the 65 degrees I want. We're sort of some people on 63, 61, but the average is probably around 56, 58, around there. These are our watts. So, yep, don't look too much into that. I want you to look at what we can actually change, which is our lengths here. So, the best length comes from number 6, which was Francis, achieving 85 degrees, which is bang on what I wanted our total length to be. So he's getting nice and far around the catch, and he's got 30 degrees around the finish, which is what I want. So we're aiming for 55 degrees around the front and 30 around the back. So that will give us a total of 85, which is Francis is pretty much emulated there perfectly. Others, so Richard in the bows, we've got 50 around the front, which is a little bit low. So we want 5 degrees more there and 2 degrees around more than the back. And then if we look at our results going down the boat, you can then match up and see how far off you are. So the areas to improve. Obviously, our catch slip is the major concern here. We got 2 and 3 seat, which is Steve and David, sort of around 20 degrees. And we got Francis and Miles, sort of mid-teens, mid to low teens as well. So slip is all about how we interact with the foot plate around the catch. It's essentially how quickly you can get connected with the legs. So that comes from preparation into the catch and how dynamic we can be onto that foot plate. It's almost like a light switch. On the recovery, you're nice and loose, and then you switch on the switch, and that's your legs turning on. And you want to be nice and quick. So that will get our catch slips lower. So there's more variance on catch angle than the other crew. So this is this here, ranging from 54 all the way down to 47. So we'll try get that a little bit lower. That just means people are getting to different lengths around the catch, which is obviously not optimal. And as I was sort of alluding to earlier, our boat speed graph looks nothing like the sharp V of sort of a good high class crew, which sort of means we're doing a bit too much movement here, not quite prepared into the catch, which is either coming from a lot of lunging or a mistiming of that actual placement. People get into the catch and then waiting for the person in front to place and then they place, which is almost causing a double peak of slowing the boat down. You have initial peak there, which is slowing the boat down, and then another peak when we actually place the blade. So we're slowing the boat down essentially twice. But a nice good thing is we're picking the boat up nice and quickly and well when we actually do get our blade in, which is a good positive. So this is how our force curves match up together. As you can see, I think it's actually a good effort. We're all similar, all peaking around here, which is 8 degrees. So almost exactly horizontal to the pin, which I like. Obviously, some people say 3 is red is 2, and that is David. We'd obviously want our peak a little bit higher. So that's just you getting hold of it, building up that work with the legs, and adding that body to the leg drive, just so we get that peak a little bit higher.
Do you want to,
So
Harry,
move,
do you want to take questions as we go, or do you want to take questions at the
yeah.
end?
This is the part where, yeah, sorry. This is the part where I want questions because it's quite
Okay,
individual,
might be a
this
daft
thing.
one. If I look at, I mean, I'll go first unless anybody else has got one. If I'm looking at the minimax angles,
Yeah.
how does that correlate with height? So
So min
I'm
and max
assuming, if
angles,
you've got somebody who's taller, they're going to find
yeah,
it easier to get a bit more length at
yeah,
both ends.
yeah, definitely. So height plays a massive role in sort of finding length, essentially. So Charles will probably find length a lot easier around the front than others, which will mean he can have his foot plate further back and still easily get the catch angle around the front and probably around the back. This doesn't mean he's effective. It just sort of means it's easier to achieve. And there's lots of ways around it, and I'll explain later how we can move the foot plate. So if you're one of these people who are achieving sort of 48, 47, mid to high 40s, we can move our foot plate forward so that we can get further around the pin. We can also do other changes like move the rigger. So in the Felipe boats, we can move the rigger towards us, towards the bows, so that the pin is closer. And then when you go up, you can get further around the pin, if that makes sense. But I'm not quite sure the Empacker you guys use has that option available. I could be wrong though.
Don't think it does.
Doesn't know.
Okay, doesn't have.
So Harry, on my I was in the 4 seat. So the catch and finish is the lower the number, the better. So mine's quite low on the catch, but quite high on the finish. Is that
Yep.
so?
So
Good catch,
I
poor
had a look
finish?
at yours. Yours is this black line here.
Yeah,
So you're obviously getting hold of it very well. 5 degrees catch slip is sort of GB standard. Obviously, finish slip is a lot higher, which sort of means we're front loading the stroke, which is good in the 8. But
yeah,
as you can see here, our black line is not quite peaking with everyone else. So we
right.
sort of have to shift our peak. So maybe, in fact, use a bit less legs and be a bit more patient around the front and sort of move our peak later on in the drive, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Okay,
then we'll be able to hold more power into the finish, and
okay,
that will get our finish slip lower.
okay.
Cool.
All right,
Has
thanks.
anyone else got any more questions?
So just on that, if I could, Harry,
Yeah.
about Andrew's point, please don't tell him he's Olympic standard. We won't hear the back of it. But apart from that, could that be a foot placement issue? If you moved your feet back slightly, would it bring that curve back? You know, if we're trying to align the curves,
So
is
you
that
could change the gearing of the blade. So that's not a foot problem. That's probably a gearing of the blade. If you increase the weight of the blade, it'll either you can pick up more weight and the peak will sort of be delayed, or you can make it lighter and the peak will be further forward. Um, it's also how we interact. So this is why telemetry is also it's a bit flawed. If we completely miss the catch and we get front splash, our catch slip will be very low because our blades are already traveling to the water in the direction we want to go. So you could be completely missing the catch, but you've got a really low catch slip. And there's someone in the senior squad, he's got 0 catch slip and 0 finish slip. Uh, and this is because he's already kicking his legs back before he's actually placed the blade. So as soon as he actually places the blade, it's got momentum on. But what he's doing theoretically to the actual boat is he's kicking it the other way. So the boat's going backwards before he puts his blade in, which is completely the wrong way around.
Yeah,
So there's a lot
okay?
of visual things that you can't see in telemetry. So it's all a bit flawed in that sense. So we've got to look at the effective length here, which takes into account that.
So a question, if I look at the left-hand bottom chart, the highest
Yeah,
graph I can see is the green one. Is that
yep,
that
five
Alan?
seat. That's miles.
That's miles, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
So
Thanks. Yeah.
no surprise there. A big,
Yeah.
strong, powerful guy. But I think Miles would be the first to say he needs to improve his technical side, and that will be shown by his effective length here. So we've got these nice, strong, powerful guys who can get the peak nice and high, but his effective is only 57 degrees. And if we can get that to 60, 62, he'll probably get 20, 30 more watts. So that's why I want more emphasis on our effective length and our catch and finish slips than anything else.
So the high catch number is if you don't place and push, but you kind of you could have missed part of the catch. Is that right?
Yes, essentially. So the catch slip, if it's high, so a high number
Yeah.
like this, 20 here, that's
Yeah.
because people are placing and they're not connecting with their legs. They're opening up with their body too early.
Right. Yeah.
So it's essentially how quickly you can get connected with your legs.
Harry, how do you get the finish slip down? So like mine is 14.8. Is that about connecting, well, I guess driving through more at the finish or
So it's all about sort of timing. So we in rowing talk about extending our leg drive. So there's a few slides later on where I sort of have a good visual analysis of what I mean by that. But essentially want to press out that feeling of pressing out with our legs, so keeping contact to the foot plate. And there's 3 points of contact, which mean you're connected to the boat. So that is I1, it is connection to the handle, connection to the seat, and connection to the foot plate. If you've got those 3 things, we're connected. So either one of those things is missing or not as strong, which means our finish slip is higher. Does that make
okay?
sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, it
So
does.
essentially, finish slip is how long we can maintain or hold on to that work for. So if you're missing one of those 3 things, it's going to increase.
Okay, and then in terms of I guess the min and max, is some
Yeah,
of that also down to flexibility?
yes, definitely.
Okay,
Flexibility. So I've got these all in another slide.
okay, all right, thanks.
So flexibility is a massive part of it, and I'll quickly go through that as well.
Okay,
Obviously, there's changes you can make to the boat. So for you, so you're in the stroke seat,
yeah,
you could obviously move your feet a little bit further forward, as I would say the catch angle is slightly harder to get than the finish angle. The finish angle you can just sort of lean back a little bit more within reason, obviously. But the catch angle is slightly harder to get if you don't have the flexibility. So that can be done by moving our feet towards the stern.
cool, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions before I move on to the second crew?
Fascinating stuff. Thank you.
No, no worries. So this is the second crew. So as we can see in this crew, or Fraser, Matt, Dave, Duckworth, Brian, Chris, Adrian, Boz, and Yaz. It's a very similar boat speed graph. And I think this is a slightly lighter crew, but we're slowing down the bow less, which was really good at the catch, and it's slightly less double peaked. So it's almost down consistently than up consistently. So slightly better on the actual boat speed profile. Some good effective lengths in the crew as well. So Matt and Fraser, I was really impressed. Matt's got 70 effective, which is way above the 65 I want. Fraser's bang on 65 as well. And that correlates to their watts as well. This is what I want to emphasize is people with high effective have good watts. Matt and Fraser aren't the biggest guys in the world either. So that's good stuff. So definitely things to improve on for this crew is sort of how we're matching up our curves. So in the other crew, if I quickly go backwards, we can see the peak is a bit more aligned and we're all peaking together. This crew, we've got 2 people sort of peaking around here, then the rest of the crew peaking too early. So that magnifying downhill is actually a bit more unclear here, but it's not quite matching up as nicely, which obviously is showing because our boat speed is max boat speed here isn't as high as the other crew. So for this crew, areas to improve, our catch lengths are kind of all over the place a little bit. So we got low 40s to 60s to 58s. That's just meaning we're not getting to the same length around the catch. People are landing on the foot plate at different times, and it could be a factor of why this isn't quite a V shape, nice downwards and upwards. Um, if we look, our finish slip and catch slip is genuinely higher than the other boat. So there's obviously a big variance in effective lengths. So our 5 seat was Brian, so that's 38, which is obviously a big factor of our catch slip and finish slip. So if you add 17 degrees and 21 degrees, and then minus it from 77, almost means half the stroke isn't effective. Um, but this is why telemetry is good. It enables us to sort of find where we're losing power and can sort of change that. Um, Before I continue, is there any questions people in this crew have?
Just on the seat position, Harry, do we need to do because I've noticed on my one with 34 on the thing, does that mean I might be too far back, or do I need to move the foot plate forward? And then would it reach
So
past the
34 is a lot of length around the back. So you would have to move, yes, your foot plate forward and just sort of make sure you're hitting that 11 o'clock. So not going past 11 o'clock if you're thinking about a clock face with your body. Um, but in general, so that could be a little bit lower. And then in that turn could be 58, sorry, the same as Matt's. So ideally as a stern pair, you want those two numbers to match up. So you're correct in that. But in general, your lengths are pretty much bang on both 88, which is really good.
What do you recommend, Harry, when we've got people of different heights in the crew? So I think in this one, Boz is at 2, quite short. I mean, it's not the tallest crew anywhere, I don't think. But in terms of relative to Fraser at stroke or Matt at 7, Boz is quite short. What would you suggest? How does that impact on these numbers, and what could we do about it?
Yeah, so obviously, as we were saying before, people like Charles would pretty much easily get a lot of length around the front and probably around the finish. So if you're shorter, there's a lot of shorter guys in rowing, but they have to compromise by sort of being a bit more flexible, get a bit more compression, which will in turn allow them to get a bit further around the pin, which makes them get a bit more length. There's only so much you can probably do setup wise, i.e., sort of move the foot plate forward or move the rigger backwards so you can get a bit more length. But we have to work our way around that a little bit with sort of flexibility. I think flexibility is the key thing for if you've got a sort of height disadvantage and you're seeing low numbers. We've got to be able to compress fully with our legs, maximize the length that we do have, and sort of posturally sort of be strong in that position as well.
Actually, what's interesting to me, at least, is I've had a quick scan through, and the shortest of the lengths is longer than the maximum effective length. So, in theory, it should be possible if somebody was really highly skilled to get their effective equivalent to anybody else as well. The ones here currently, if they could get on quickly and hold it at the back end.
Yeah, 100%. So you pretty much need 0 and 0. But as I said earlier, some low numbers can be coming from if you have 0 catch slip, if it's too low, it normally does mean we're actually just kicking at the catch. So we're kicking before the blade's actually in, which makes it a false reading essentially. We're actually slowing the boat down. And that's why we've got to look at the boat speed graph. But yeah, that is also true.
Harry, Charles here, looking at that bottom right-hand table, the 8 seat, the length is 88 and the bow seat, the length is 75. So that's like a 13-degree difference in length. Is that right?
So
does that mean
88?
The 88 compared to the bow seat, which is 75, at the top of that column. See where your pointer is 88. If you go to the top of that column on length, it's 75.
75, yeah.
So the bow seat blade is traveling 13 degrees less through the water than the stroke blade is. So is that right? So the actual application of force through the water is 13 degrees more by the guy in stroke seat than it is in the guy in bow seat. So the blade is out. So in my head, I always had, and wrongly, I now see that the spoons all spent the same amount of time in the water or pulled the same length of stroke in the water if we were all going in at the same time and coming out at the same time. But that is not what this is saying. This is saying that if you've got a longer length number there, you're actually pulling through the water further. So you must be applying more force. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to get at. So if we've got an actual longer length, we've got more opportunity to be effective in that length. So if we're already 10 degrees shorter, like you're saying, between the stern pair and the bow pair are likely to get less effective, which is what you're saying here. So the stern pair, what they're doing is they're enabling distance per stroke. So per a stroke, if they're in a pair compared to the bow pair, they'll go a lot further, which obviously means they're doing a lot more watts per stroke. So a bow pair would either have to go, if they're in pairs, would have to go a lot higher rate compared to them, but it's a lot more effective to do it this way.
And I guess if
But
you look
yeah,
at the
you're correct in
graphs on
saying
the
that.
left,
Yeah,
say the light blue, the area under the graph, the
yeah.
greater the area, then the more
Mhm.
power is applied throughout the stroke.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that is how watts is calculated, is the area
yeah.
underneath the graph. So if you get connected quicker, so this is Matt's graph here, he gets connected pretty much straight away, which means he has more opportunity for watts there, and he's got greater length than everyone else as well around the catch.
Brilliant. Really,
And it
really good.
also, so you've highlighted a really good point there. So Matt's already on the power here, which means people who are getting 10 degrees less around the catch only start their drive here. So if we put that all together, people who are not getting as much length as Matt are already losing out this chunk here in watts, which is pretty substantial. If we've got 5 people not doing it, well, I don't know, that's probably what 400 watts total between 5 people just there. So it's pretty substantial. So that's,
And then
yeah,
following
as you
through to
said.
the other end of the field, there's even more area under Matt's graph at the other end as well.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. So he's got low catch slip and good finish slip as
Yeah.
well, around 10. So he's bang on. Any
You
other
didn't
questions
take
for
any
people in
bribes
the
on any of
crew?
these numbers, did you, Harry?
No, I didn't. I was rather hoping for the opposite. Don't want anything to go to anyone's head.
So Harry,
Harry, mine, sorry.
yeah, just a quick
Oh,
question from Rich in first crew.
yeah.
So the catch slip, is that effectively the degrees that you're out of the water? So you know,
No, so it's
huh?
your blade places and the effective length is measured when you've reached 20% of your peak power. So if your peak power is 200 watts, your catch slip is the angle it takes for you to reach 20 watts. Is it 20 watts? 40 watts?
40
Whatever 20% of 200 is.
Oh, I see.
So that's measured as slip, and that's for both ends. So it's essentially how quickly we can get connected. So the quicker we can get connected, get our watts up, is that reading here.
Okay, so I guess it's indirectly related to how much you row in, because you're obviously not going to be at 20% if you're stroking in the
Yeah,
air.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I would like to sort of add, there is a bit of discrepancy. It's a lot easier to sort of get a low catch slip in the bows than it is the stern and stuff like that. So it does sort of play a factor in, I would say, how Mike or I sort of, if we were looking at race crews, where we put people as well.
Harry, why is that? And is there anything we can do to
So
minimize?
it's slightly, because the bows rise up, it's slightly easier to place and you've got that momentum with you. So it's a lot easier to get connected with the legs. If you're in the stern, you've got all 7 other people behind you pushing you. So it's a little bit harder to get that feeling and get that connection in the legs.
Yeah, makes sense.
Harry, hi.
Harry, it's Adrian. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Adrian.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. In terms of my max score there at 27.1, that's sort of the lowest out of the lot. What can I do to improve that?
So we've got, comparatively to where other people are in the crew, so 50 degrees around the front isn't too bad. As you said, 27 around the back is a little bit lower, but that's not the main concern. Our finish angle, sorry, is slightly easier to sort of obtain just by sort of leaning back a little bit more. It's
Okay.
quite simple. But we've got to make that sort of finish effective, as we've already seen here.
Yeah.
Our finish slip is quite high already. So by leaning back more, we'll actually in turn make it even greater slip because it won't be connected. So we've either got to move our foot plate backwards, so actually towards the bows, so we can get this number at 30, and then you get more flexible. So we increase this number naturally, which I think would be the better fix for you, considering your finish slip is higher than your catch slip by quite some way.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of
But yeah,
exercises.
the finish slip isn't too much of a worry. I'd rather worry, especially in the 8, more about catch slip. If we're not getting connected around the front, there's not going to be much chance because the boat's moving so quickly to apply our power effectively. I'd rather our catch slip be nice and low and our finish slip a little bit higher if it were one way round.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Could you give us a sense, Harry, of, we know the people in the squad, we know what age we're at, we know where we are roughly flexibility wise, and it's different in each seat. But could you give us a steer on from where we are, where you think we might get to with improved flexibility? Because it feels to me like there's an awful lot of work going in, which is great, to getting watts up and 20-minute tests and loads of bloody hard things going on, and it feels like there might be some easy wins here around improved, well, I say easy, painless in relative terms, wins around improved flexibility.
Yeah.
How much difference do you think somebody could make?
So there's stretches I've outlined later in the presentation, which I'll quickly run through. But in general, as Mike says, it is just free speed. If we can sort of get greater length and sort of initiate our drive from here all the way to here rather than here to there, it's this exact same effort, just our flexibility allows us to get further around the pin at the catch to get these higher angles. So a lot of our flexibility comes from our hamstrings and our ankles. So ankle mobility is actually a crucial one, which I don't think many of you probably thought before. But ankles sort of affect how we sort of operate around the catch. If you've got really stiff ankles and they don't lift off the foot plate, you're probably not getting around the pin very far. When I say pin, it's pretty much the gate, by the way. But as a crew, if we're all sort of getting longer, I'm 100% sure that our factors will increase as well, just because there's more scope for that to increase. So yeah, that's just sort of the benefits we can all reap. And you're not working harder, you're literally just getting a longer, more effective stroke. Distance per stroke is essentially what our effective length is, if you think about it in visual terms. Yeah.
Another question about that graph on the bottom left. If you look at the left-hand side of all of the lines, they're all starting at different points. Is that because the catches were all at different times?
That's not because of the different times. That's just because of the length of the drive.
Oh, I see.
It's the angle rather than the speed, isn't it?
So is the graph above that?
The telemetry doesn't actually show you when the blade goes in, so you've got to look at that from a point of view of this graph here, our boat speed graph. If our blades go in exactly the same time and we will push together, there'll be a graph which is really sharp down and really quick up. At the moment, it's sort of slow plateau down and then quick up, which means we're sort of not interacting in the foot plane the same way, not placing in the same way. This only shows it this way because Matt is getting so much more angle around the front. It starts over here. He's getting the same angles everyone else around the back. But this is what I mean by flexibility. If we're all able to reach these angles, so 10 degrees more, plus in some cases 10 degrees more, we're able to start our drive here and then finish it in the same spot here. And that's just 3 watts, as Mike says, just by being more effective in our rowing. We don't have to get any stronger. I think physiology-wise, as a group, we're all coming along. I think now the focus shifts to how flexible we can be and sort of how effective we can be, really. Any more questions?
And Harry, just on a flexibility, so apart from telemetry, which is fantastic, but we're not going to be doing that every week. I mean, how can we gauge our flexibility? Is it the sort of the yellow box that Mike's got in the gym? Is that the best way of week in, week out progressing our
The
flexibility?
best way to sort of judge flexibility is just by doing it here and there. There's a lot of you who just sort of turn up on your bikes and then, oh, I'm warmed up, ready to go. Even worse, turn up in a car and then go straight onto the water. You should be mobilizing before every session. So you should be mobilizing our hamstrings, lower back, ankles, quads, the whole shebang, really. Rowing's a whole body sport. It will prevent injury, and secondly, it will make us more effective as a group. But there's not quite a way to measure it. Obviously, we'll feel the improvements just because things will be looser and we'll be able to reach further. I sort of know sculling wise, if we look to where I've got a front rigger in front of me, and if my hands go past that rigger, I know I'm getting quite good length. If they're behind that rigger, I'm getting short length. So maybe slightly reference points in sweep how far you are, your handles outside of the boat. I don't know if you've seen these crews with straws on their boats.
Yeah.
Have you seen that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have little straws outside the boat, and that's essentially it forces them to get the angle around the front. So that might be a thing to try, and actually be a good visual aid and sort of help guide us to get those angles because it's probably 10 degrees might seem, oh, that's easy peasy, but there's one thing doing it and another thing seeing it.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? Cool. So this is number 3 again. So the only change was Cather's S for Boz. Yep. So telemetry is pretty accurate. You won't see these numbers change too much between your first and second outing. And again, you can see the discrepancy between our power curves matching up here and magnifying down here. So I won't spend too much time on that. So this is the footage analysis to support our telemetry. So here is the main culprit, I would say, for bad catch slip, sorry, and effective length. I've just picked random people, so don't be annoyed by me. So the simple answer to fixing low or high catch slip, sorry, is by our body being used too early in the drive. So isolating the leg drive is it's a faster sort of movement than sort of opening our body. We can make our legs move a lot quicker. So it's more powerful way to change direction, enabling us to get connected quicker without losing length. The body should only be used to add to the leg drive. So if we look at these, I think that's Francis and Andy here. So the body's already been used and our legs are still probably at half slide. So we've connected the legs here and then our legs will go down and we aren't able to continue that leg drive, sorry, our power curve through our body because our body's already been used. So Alan here does slightly better of sort of isolating the leg drives and then he'd be able to use his body to continue that power. In some cases, our bodies are actually moving more than our legs. So I would say, I think this is Andy. The legs literally haven't gone down at all. It's just the body opening up, which is causing that connection, which is the wrong way around. We want to find that connection in the legs and then open our body. So as I said here, getting a low catch slip is all about how quickly you can get connected with the legs. It's pretty simple. And I'll quickly move on to the second crew. And this is a bit easier for you guys to understand what I mean. So the 2 most affected guys in the group from a telemetry standpoint were Matt and Fraser. And you can see here, past the 6th seat, everyone else has opened up their body from the catch. Matt and Fraser have kept their body forward. So I literally, when I was making this, I didn't have to move at all these arrows. I just moved them down. And don't know who this is here. but we can see our legs, our knees haven't gone down at all. It's just our body opening up, finding that connection. So those that open the body too early only get connected with the legs about sort of a half slide, which is shown here. So that's where people with low effective lengths are sort of missing out. So lines highlighted in green show good leg isolation, which correlate to the highest effective lengths in telemetry. You can see stern pair spending more time around the catch. So a good saying is connected legs equals slow legs. So if my legs are slow, they're nice and connected. If you do 100 kilo squat, let's say, our legs are going to move a lot slower if it was a 50 kilo squat. So that's a good sort of visual and sort of feeling you want to get. Are my legs traveling slow? Do they feel like they're picking up work? So the crucial thing is this enables distance per stroke. It enables efficient rowing. So a closer look and sort of quick fixes we can sort of do to decrease our catch slip. So trying to increase the length of our leg drive. So that comes from getting our shins vertical and almost feel like we're getting our bum close to our heels. So here I think this is Alan. So his bum's probably around there and his heels are there. We want the bum to compress slightly more to the heels to this green arrow for a longer leg drive, and it allows us to reach desired lengths. So all in all, this change will make a longer leg drive for higher distance per stroke. I don't want to see the increase from length from rocking over the body. So you have to stay at 1 o'clock. So I think this is Craig here. So it's a little bit too far over. And we can see here the gap between our bum and our shins is quite a lot. So our actual leg drive isn't that long. We get a lot of length from our body. And the most powerful part of the drive is our leg. So if we can increase the distance of our leg drive, that is crucial. A good saying is the further up our knees are, the longer our leg drive. You'll hear me say a lot on the ergs if you come to S&C, knees up, knees down. So I want you to get that feeling of our knees going up at the catch as far as possible, and the first movement is knees down. We're not worrying about what our body is doing. So if we're lunging into the catch, if we're overreaching, this dips the stern. So we're shoving our weight into the stern of the boat, which is obviously going to kill boat speed, but also causes injury and is hard to follow. A good rhythm is nice and consistent, and our body moving one stroke more than the other is not going to set a good rhythm. So that's an important factor in this as well. So our finish into the recovery. So how to decrease finish slip. So as Alan was saying earlier, we want to get that sensation of holding onto the work for as long as possible. This comes from pressing on the foot plate. So that's why we do feet out drills. I want that connection on the foot plate. So we want as much connection with the foot onto the foot plate for as long as possible. Getting into this desired 11 o'clock position, which I actually think we're all doing pretty well here, which is good to see. And a clean, quick extraction. We can get a low catch slip from holding up the boat essentially, but that's that's just going to slow things down. And then you've got to have three things, like I said earlier, to get connection, which is connected to the handle, connected to the foot plate, and connected to the seat. If we have all three of those, we will be connected to the water and adding to boat speed, which is crucial. The recovery, so telemetry doesn't actually highlight the recovery too well. You can only see the recovery obviously from the boat speed chart. But if we can't get into a good catch position, we basically fail at this first step. So I want that squad sort of to feel of finishing the stroke at quarter slide, emphasizing the importance of recycling the hands and the body, and making sure when we do finish our stroke, we're crucially thinking about arms and body. Rowing is very simple. I want you to get your arms away, then your body. Then all you have to think about is that slide going up. Simple catch equals a good catch. Get prepared early. That's why if we think about the finish ending at quarter slide, all we have to think about is our knees coming up, square the blade, and place. I've got a quick video here of, hopefully it'll play, and it won't play. Oh, there we go. Of my 2022, I think, or 2023 quad of a quarter slide drill. You can see us get into quarter slide. Play that once more. So you can see catch position 1 o'clock, and we start from the finish position, pause at quarter slide, then place. Pause at quarter slide. All we have to think about is knees up, place. So it's good rowing, looks very simple. Don't have to overcomplicate it. And for me, I've never been able to replicate this position just because I haven't been as flexible. I've got a rounded back now and all kinds of stuff going on. So flexibility is crucial. So overall learnings and fixes. So this is our main squad problem is not being effective at connecting and not reaching our desired angles. That's probably the easiest fix and the biggest learning we've made. So the fix is technical, is quicker place, preparation into the catch, and no excess movement. So that will improve our boat speed graph and our effective length. So we want to isolate the leg drive and increase speed at which we connect with the leg. So that feeling, like as I said, knees up, knees down. Boat adjustments, I think this has all been said. If we're not reaching 80 degrees plus, move the foot plate towards the stern, which will allow you to go further around the pin, or we can either play around with the position of the rigger. So if we're not reaching, if you're a smaller person, we can bring the rigger towards the bow, which will allow you to get further around the pin. So on land, the quick fixes are obviously stretching, so our ankles and hamstring. This is the ankle test, but it's also a very good stretch. And posture and form when doing lifting translates into boats. So when you come down to S&C on Thursday evenings, think about our posture, think about our form, and how that will impact our rowing stroke. So if we're doing a squat, I expect your back to be fully braced, your core to be braced, and sort of get that feeling of what should it feel like in the boat. So when I'm doing squats, I know I want to feel nice and secure, only my legs moving, my upper body nice and still. And that should be able to replicate in the lifting movements as well. And I think you've heard enough of me. So any questions regarding anything at all?
One quick question. A couple of slides ago, you had one comment which was clean exit.
Yeah.
Does that mean, do you mean
this one?
The exit squared, the blades?
So no, so we can hold, it's regarding finish slip. So finishes slip is all about how well we can hold in the work. If I don't make that movement or that tap down to get my blade out, I can get a really good finish slip. But obviously that's going to hold up the boat and I'm not going to be moving with everyone else. In a sweep boat, we all know how important it is to make that shape and that movement around the back together. Otherwise, we're never going to get a balanced boat. So clean extraction is in reference to sort of moving with everyone else and not holding up the boat.
Okay, thanks.
No worries.
So if I was to take two things away from it, Harry, and I think it's been fantastic, thank you.
No worries.
One of them we want to work really hard on, I think, two or three things. One is there's a few of us could probably benefit from being a little closer, footplate a little closer at the stern.
Yeah.
Feels like an awful lot of people could benefit from being more flexible. I think
Yeah.
when we look at people who open their bodies early in the drive, I think it's almost, well, it's partly, I think, a habit, and partly,
Yeah.
I think, a consequence of a not particularly flexible hamstrings, glutes, pelvis, whatever, almost bounces people out.
Yeah.
And I can kind of just about work out the optics with what you see from the launch, with what you see and what you highlighted there. So it feels like
Yeah.
a couple of footplate movements and a lot of work on flexibility, in addition to what we're already doing, might help move us forward. Was that your overall take?
Yeah, pretty much. I think one person highlights it really well. And I think think you'll mind me saying, Charles, I think after one S&C session, we tried to practice our body positions, and he knew exactly what I wanted him to do and the body position I wanted him to get into, but he physically couldn't get his body over, and that's a flexibility problem. And if you can't do it on the erg, we can't do it on the water. And it's
I did.
also
I did
little
a
fixes like, oh,
no. Well, I was just going to say I did my UT2 today, and I
yeah,
had the power graph on the ergo for every stroke. I was just looking at that power graph to try and get it into a better shape.
yeah, perfect. So I think if we're looking for body positions and we're worried about our body positions, the best fix for that is on land, it's on the erg. If we can't do it on the land, there's no chance we're going to get that on the water in an unbalanced boat. So we've really got to nail that.
Would it be worth, do you think, Harry, taking? I mean, I'm interested in the stretching side particularly because it does feel like a fairly easy win. Well, I say fairly
Yeah.
easy. You get to our age, it's a bit harder, but it feels like it would almost be worth taking a UT2 session out and putting an hour and a half stretching in, wouldn't it? Or is it the way? So people take the piss actually. When I come down to row, as I will on Thursday morning, I arrive at 8:30 for a 9:30 go and I start stretching. The reason isn't really to try and get a perfect stroke; it's to avoid a backache.
Yeah.
But it feels like, are we better off partitioning a session, or would we be better off saying, right, you need to be doing this for 4 minutes, 10 times a day? You know, when you're watching the telly, when the adverts are on, when you're sitting in a chair, when you're doing this, when you're doing that. Is it one of these things that's worth partitioning a session for, or is it just the accumulation of time you spend doing it across the day and across the week?
I think it's the accumulation of time you spend across the day and the week. I think if people really want to improve, they will sort of implement it into their routine. I think if we force it upon people, it won't be done to the standard. I think stretching is one of those ones you do it half-assed and not make any gains in actual flexibility. Or if you do it properly, you make the gains pretty quickly and significantly. And I think that's up to those guys who have sort of seen the data, seen, oh, I'm probably not actually as flexible as I thought. Should try and make those changes.
Okay, feels like we could measure it as well for each person and see what
Yeah,
we can
there
do.
definitely is the yellow box. So there's the hamstring test, and there's obviously the wall test. I think we did it at the beginning or maybe last year, but we definitely didn't put enough emphasis on it and how important it is, as this definitely has highlighted how inflexible I think some people are. It's not because we're rowing badly, it's mainly because we can't actually get into the positions.
Okay, great. Thank you. I thought it was a really, really good session. Thank you, Harry.
Yeah, I'll share the slides
Harry,
and stuff like that.
I've got a quick question, a sort of follow-up to Sammy's question about the extraction and extracting square.
Yeah.
I've always thought that a square extraction was actually really important.
Yeah.
To get the bed out nice and cleanly, and you didn't seem to think it was.
No, a square extraction is very important, but I'm saying if one person can hold in their work for longer and their blade doesn't pop out with everyone else's, it's going to hold the boat up. The
Right.
extraction of a blade actually coming out square obviously remains the same. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing square blades all these miles.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't want
It
people to
doesn't
hold in the
necessarily
finish.
affect the finish slip. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
It doesn't necessarily, the square extraction doesn't necessarily affect the finish slip.
No.
But you do need to do it for everything else.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, okay.
One question. So as we are kind of a different heights and dimensions, is the ideal kind of boat speed achieved if everybody would have the blade at the same time, you know, as long just the same amount of time in the water, which means that taller people would have a slightly kind of a short or smaller angles, and the shorter people, in theory, would then need to have bigger angles, so that the start point and the the end point of each stroke for each row would be the same. Is that kind of the ideal goal for speed?
That is the ideal goal, but I don't want the tall people shortening their stroke because that's just losing watts. I rather people are sort of finding it harder to get the length, increase their length as that will increase the watts. So I don't want tall people suddenly rowing really short, row normally how you normally would in your range, and people who are sort of lower on the scale with the lengths and lower the effective length. I want you to focus on your flexibility and increase your length to match people such as Sammy, Charles, taller people, just so that we're all then increasing our opportunity for increasing our effective length, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much.
Cool.
So Harry, what are the key exercises for flexibility? So I could see from the videos there, I'm clearly opening my body up far too early. So what sort of things should I be doing in terms of flexibility to help prevent that from
I'll
happening?
send you a quick YouTube video of sort of, I'll send it to everyone, of some key rowing stretches. So we're looking to stretch our hamstrings, ankles, our quads, lower back for injury sakes, and even our shoulders, just for that rotation aspect and sort of making them feel loose and not tense all the way up here. There's definitely some good YouTube videos. I use a YouTube video as well. I'll send those through later.
That'd be great. Thank you.
But Harry, it was is Adrian right there? He's attributing the fact he's opening his body early. He's attributing that to a lack of flexibility. Are those two necessarily
It's not.
related?
No, it's not all down to flexibility. It's obviously technical stuff as well. But I would say flexibility is a massive part if you can't get the angles around the front, which I think is what Adrian was struggling with.
Okay.
If we look in here, so the 3 seat, yeah. So Adrian's in the 49s and we're aiming for 55 degrees around the front. So it's a mixture of not being flexible to get the length and then the technical change of using our legs than the body.
That's great. Thank you. That's clear.
Cool. Any other thoughts, questions, queries?
How much is it to get telemetry fitted to Sarah?
Oh, I think Mike might have more of an idea. I think it's £8,000.
How many cups of coffee do we need to sell?
Well, at 15 grand, and we're charging £1 a coffee, we can all do the math.
Girls, just because you want to open your OnlyFans account, eh?
One last question, Harry. So overall, with the metrics, do you want a combination of a high effective length and also high watts? Is it a combination of the two? Because I can see some people have got very high effective lengths, but not necessarily the highest average watts.
Yeah. So effective length obviously means we have more opportunity for high watts. But obviously that's physiology is a factor in watts as well. So if we look at, I think Mars is probably a good example. He's probably got quite good watts. What crew is Mars in? So 5 seat here, he's got 203 watts, but obviously not the most effective. But people like Matt, who are probably nowhere near Mars on the erg, who have got good effective length of 70 plus is 187. So it's only, 10 watts off Mars, which if we look on land comparison, it would be a lot bigger. The variance would be a lot bigger. So our effective length and how effective we can be is just 3 watts. But obviously, if you've got a big muscly bodybuilder who's obviously very strong, good physiology, his effective might be low, but his watts might be high, but they could be even higher if they were effective, more effective.
Do you find when you're doing the work on this, Harry, that what you get here is a reasonable reflection of a proportion of what you get on the ergo that links to your effectiveness? So, for example, I think it's Matt's at 187, and I think his effective is at 71. I forget what Matt's It's about 222, Matt, your 20-minute test.
219.
219, okay. Call it 220, keep it easy for me. Is there a correlation that you can make that says if you can get that effective to 75, you're going to capture, is it another X percent of watts? You know, if we're trying to go 90-degree angle and we're at 71, can we actually calculate what that would get us? Is it a reasonable thing to calculate relative to the ergo?
I think it would be slightly hard, but it's definitely some method to the madness because I I know for a fact I did 350 for Head of the River, which is quite close to sort of my 5K score, and I think if you're certain effective, it'll be pretty close to what you do on the erg in that regard. So I think there might be a way to vaguely work it out, but definitely not precisely.
350 watts.
Sorry?
Did you say 350 watts?
Yeah, yes.
Righty. Okay.
Isn't it a function of the angle of the blade in the water? So if you're at the beginning of the catch, your blade is angled against the water, isn't it? It's much more effective, like you said at the beginning, if it's at right angles to the boat. Yeah, did I say that? So
Sorry, say that one again.
The power that you're exerting through the water is more if your spoon is at 90 degrees to the boat than if it's
yes. Well, that's when it's most effective because it's pointing exactly in the direction you want to go. If you think about when we place our blade at the catch, you got part of the spoon pointing towards the bank, if that makes sense. But if our spoon is completely horizontal to the gate, it means it's the most effective. So this graph here shows us the degrees. So I think along here somewhere would be the middle in line with the boat. I don't quite know where. But that's where we want our peak to be, and we want our peak to be matching. So yeah, you're right in that regard.
So would you want your minimum and your maximum to be 50-50 or similar?
No.
Because
no.
Okay. Not 50-50, but
you want to get sort of more angle around the front so you can pick up the boat, and then I think just where it biomechanically works, this is getting quite technical, sort of above my knowledge. But if you then get the same angle around the back, it just wouldn't work.
No, but the difference between what's on the ergo and what's in the boat could be down to the angle of the blade, which you don't get on an ergo, but you do in a boat. Yeah. I'll shut up. It's all right.
None of this matters if you're swanning around in Paris, Charles.
Question: Does this help setting up blade gearing? You know, should we be changing up the gearing on the blade, the inboard and outboard? I don't know what they're set to at the moment, but would this help?
Yes, potentially, because obviously if we got a shorter inboard and a longer outboard, we'll be able to get more around the pin.
Do you have a recommendation?
And vice versa.
Your recommendation, what we should be going for?
I think we'll have a discussion probably with Mike. But it's obviously we don't want to set it too heavy, so we're all breaking our backs. We don't want to set it too light. And then if people pick up the wrong blades, it's all going to be off.
To be honest, only on the grounds that until we're very flexible, it's probably difficult to brace when you're at the extremes.
The thing to do is to get more flexible, Mike. I appreciate that. But, yeah.
Let's get stretching.
As we get older.
Well, also we've also got to sign up Kath Scanlon as a male. I think it's one of the other takeouts. Got good effective length, good watts, no weight. So the plan.
Any other questions?
Well, I was just going to say, a question for Harry and Matt. Really, are we going to get a copy of this presentation? Be really useful.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say I'll put it into PDF form and then send it on the group chat later.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Have you guys got the actual telemetry report on the group chat? I think I put the photos of them so you can zoom in, but I'll put the presentation on as well.
That's great.
Great. Many
Thank you
thanks,
so
Harry. Really
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
has
no
been
worries,
really,
guys.
Thank you
this
very
has
much.
been really good. Thank you.
Really, really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Really interesting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Current plan, for what
Thank
it's
you.
worth, is that we do it again in in the run up to the Eights Head.
Mm.
Partly
Yeah,
to see how much progress we've made, partly so we've got a target date to get some of this flexibility stuff worked on, and partly to help with crew selection. So that's the current thinking. I've agreed it with Mike P, and I've agreed it in principle with Jamie, but as ever, it's one of these things where you get it when the seniors don't need it, which is fine. But we might sometimes get it at short notice.
Yeah. Seniors don't train on Fridays. I know that much, if that helps.
Okay, that might help, actually. That might help.
Yeah. But definitely that'd be quite an exciting sort of thing, seeing that comparison, and I think it will make people believe in it a bit more if you can actually see the improvement in data-wise rather than just feeling.
That'd be great. I'm fairly sure, check with Matt and check with everybody else, but I'm fairly sure we'd be willing to move a Saturday session to a Friday session to get our hands on a refresh on the data.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
the
very much,
quiet
Harry.
river, that was a good thing we had the other day, wasn't it? Middle of the day, no, river to ourselves.
Especially booked.
Yeah.
Is there any major surprises for anyone in here? Is anybody surprised, shocked, pleased? Kind of, what's the general gist? I mean, everybody wishes they had more numbers. Everybody wishes they had more length. Okay, get that. But within that, is it what we thought it would be, roughly?
There's a whole load more than I thought it would be.
Oh, you mean in terms of the amount of data?
Yeah, the stuff you can draw from it is just amazing. Yeah, I can see why we want to do it again.
There's a lot more graphs as well. I don't think bombarding you with even more information was worth it. So these are just sort of the main graphs as well.
Is this the Peach system, Harry?
This is the Peach system. Yeah, I think most people now use the Peach system.
I would say the big takeaway for me is that this showed in numbers how big of a difference a good technique does or provides, because you always get told try to have a long stroke, etc. You obviously you try, but you could never know how much is going to improve 1% or 10%. But here, it's massive difference between when you look at the effective length of different people. So the technique has a huge impact on the boat speed, much bigger than I thought, which I'm very pleased actually.
No, that's the key takeaway. It's not all about watts, it's about how effective we're being, so that's good.
I was thinking we could invest our breakfast fund in Peach shares as well. I'm imagining there's quite a lot of people after this stuff. We'll have a look at it offline. Thanks, Harry.
Yeah.
No worries, guys.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, message me on WhatsApp, or if you want to catch up on S&C or anything in detail, I can do that as well.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Harry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care, guys.
Cheers, Harry.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, Bob.
Bye-bye.